And perfect. And with that, I will call the meeting to order and ask Michelle to take the roll call, please.
Dr. Goodwin, Mr. Mulligan,
Here.
Mr. Soldani,
Present.
Mr. Robertson,
Here.
and Mr. Hartwig.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. So we'll move on then to item number 3, the approval of the consent calendar items. Is there any additions or corrections for the minutes from our? I have to look back and see what that date was. I guess the December 15th of 2021. Are there any additions or corrections to that? All right, hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar items 9 through 12.
1 second, Daniel. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It looks like Dr. Goodwin is here, so we're going to let her
Great.
join.
Okay.
We're just trying to move her over.
Sure. Welcome, Dr. Goodwin. So with that being said, then I'll still entertain any motion to approve the consent items 9 through 12.
I move
So moved.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Jerry first and Andy second. We'll go that way.
There you go.
And
Got it.
and so if you'll call the roll, please.
Yep, Dr. Goodwin. Hi, Dr. Goodwin. Can you hear me? Looks like you're not muted, but we may have an audio issue.
She's raising
she
her
has her
hand.
hand raised. Perfect. Dr. Goodwin, Mr. Mulligan,
Yes.
Mr. Soldani,
Aye.
Mr. Robertson,
Aye.
and Mr. Hartwig.
Yes.
Motion passes. And for the record, there are no members of the public present, so I did not call
Thank you.
for
That
public
actually will help out as we go through this, I guess. All right, minutes are approved, and we'll move on then to the public hearing and the swearing in of witnesses. So will all witnesses who intend to testify today please stand and raise your right hand so that the board may swear you in. Thank you, Shannon. I can see your hand. Patrick, appreciate it, guys. John, thank you. Do you solemnly swear that you are about to give, that the testimony you're about to give in the matters pending before the hearing board today shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. I see some nodding. I see some thumbs up. That's good. Perfect. With that being said, then we'll move on then to docket number C-22-01S, a short variance for Guardian Industries LLC. And I'll ask that Mr. Roach come forward and identify himself beyond what I just identified him.
Good morning. My name is John Roach. I'm the EHS manager here at Guardian Industries of Glass Plant in Kingsburg, California.
Thank you. And I guess, Shannon, I'm guessing you're giving the presentation today?
That's correct. All right.
Perfect.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Shannon Moore. I'm an air quality specialist here at the district. As you see here, Guardian Industries LLC is before you. They operate a 212 MMBTU per hour glass melting furnace with the associated emission control equipment. Emissions from the stack are monitored by a continuous emissions monitoring system and a continuous opacity monitoring system. This is probably a familiar variance request to the board. They're back again this year regarding the regenerator burn for their furnace. The furnace utilizes a pair of regenerators, which consists of refractory brick arranged in a checkerboard pattern to capture waste heat from the exhaust and use it to preheat the incoming combustion air. The regenerator absorbs heat from the exhaust to help lower exhaust temperatures to a range suitable for treatment in the emissions control system. And every 20 minutes, the regenerator reverses the heat captured by the furnace reverses flow essentially, and heat captured by the regenerator is given up to intake air, allowing lower amounts of fuel to generate greater amounts of heat with lower associated emissions. As flue gases pass over the regenerator packs on the exhaust side, precipitates of sulfates and other products of combustion build up on the refractory surface. This has the effect of both insulating the refractory from efficient heat transfer and causing mechanical damage through thermal stress caused by differences in surface temperatures. At regular intervals, it's necessary to perform maintenance on these regenerator packs by adding a couple of auxiliary burners. They're auxiliary natural gas-fired burners, which are included in the permit description. This extra heat is added to ports at the bottom of the regenerators on each side. The burners allow the regenerator pack to heat up to temperatures of 2,200 degrees Fahrenheit, which allows the sulfates and other contaminants on the refractory to melt and drip down to the bottom of the regenerator, where they can be later be cleaned out manually. The burners are moved manually from port to port until the entire pack is cleaned, and this typically takes about 5 to 7 days of continuous burn to completely clean the regenerators on both sides of the furnace. As the regenerator burn is moved along the pack, it's likely that overall air-fuel ratio in the furnace will change, causing brief periods of excess carbon monoxide and possibly NOx and SOx generation. Based on historical data collected from prior regenerator burn-offs, Guardian has estimated that excess emissions during the variance will not exceed 2,000 pounds of carbon monoxide, NOx, and SOx. That's 2,000 pounds of each emissions would be the maximum. Therefore, Guardian requested a short variance from requirements of the applicable district rules and sections of the California Health and Safety Code, in addition to the applicable conditions of the subject permits. The requested short variance would be for a consecutive 10-day period to occur sometime between March 1st, 2022 and April 30th, 2022 inclusive. If granted, the variance would allow the continued operation of the regenerative glass melting furnace and glass manufacturing with excess NOx, SOx, and carbon monoxide and visible emissions while the work is being performed. The district believes the required findings as set forth in the California Health and Safety Code can be made and recommends that Guardian Industries LLC be granted a short variance with the conditions on pages 4, 5, and 6. And that concludes the district's presentation.
Sorry,
You're
Daniel,
muted.
you're on mute.
That's a Zoom mistake. That's a rookie mistake on my part there. No, Mr. Roach, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I don't know if Shannon reiterated this, but the visible emissions would be due to reaching a temperature threshold as a safety device or safety threshold, to go to bypass because of the additional burner and the additional heat.
Okay. And you reviewed the conditions of the variance?
Yes, I have.
And you're good with it, I take it as well?
Yes.
All right. Any members of the hearing board have any questions for either staff or for the applicant?
Yes, I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Goodwin.
Okay. For the visible emissions, what are your estimates of the time that it's going to be very high, like 95% or thereabouts? And what period of time will it be much less?
It's probably going to be just maybe 15 or so minutes at the highest, probably at 95 if we go into bypass, if that temperature reaches that safety threshold. So it's similar to going into a bypass when we do a blowdown, but it's not the additional emissions coming from blowing down the ESP, but this is just whatever has been accumulated in the damper to open a bypass. So it shouldn't be that long.
And John, is it can I, if you don't mind, could I ask a question to follow up?
Please.
Sure.
It is in the last couple of years when you've done this, have you gone into bypass at all? I mean, does that occur during these cleanouts, or is it just like in an extreme situation?
I just want to comment on your beard. It's really awesome. Firstly, you got a really rocking beard there. I wish I could do that.
Please get that in a minute.
Very good looking group.
Thanks.
Anyway, so to answer your question, yes, we have. Well, let's see. I believe in 2016 we were issued a notice of violation for exceeding CO emissions during this type of activity, and a year later, 2017, we actually did hit that temperature safety threshold and go into bypass. So historically it can happen. It has happened and it can happen.
Okay.
Even though it's not a very, it's, you know, not a normal process, but we would do our best to control it as best we can so it doesn't happen. But it does, and it will and can happen, you know, in certain scenarios.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Ms.
I had
Robertson,
one
did you
more
have,
question.
go ahead, Dr. Goodwin.
Last year, you only asked for a 48-hour non-consecutive variance. Why is it 10 days this year?
It's to allow, you know, basically it's manpower. It's an issue of manpower, and because of COVID. So depending on the manpower available to conduct this activity, it may take longer.
Can you please describe what do you mean by all of that? What's
Well, we may not have there's a possibility of COVID call outs. You know, the political climate related to COVID and the changes in the what do I want to call it, the employee leave, COVID leave. There's a risk of employees calling out due to you know, possibly contracted COVID and then thus prolonging the maintenance activity.
So well, how many people do you have with COVID? I mean, that seems like awfully large since most people seem to be getting over COVID and everybody wants to get rid of the mask. How many people do you have actually with COVID?
I don't know the exact number right now, but this is just as a contingency for that risk.
But what you're saying, Dr. or Mr. Roach, if I understand it correctly, you're just saying that just in case, you know, God forbid, you guys did have several people that called out at one time or were working together, and now you were short a couple crew or something like that. But you're not saying you have a bunch of people right now. You're just trying to.
We're trying to allow
abundance of caution. Yeah, if I understand that correctly.
And how many people are on this crew that do this clean out? How many people are you encircling that are going to be on this crew?
Typically 4 to 5 people, and they you know, there's chambers underneath the regenerators, and they clean out the chambers one at a time.
If I could clarify too, something regarding, I think your comment, Dr. Goodwin. Last year, they had a couple of petitions. They had last year's petition for the regenerator burn was a 10-day petition. They also had a petition for, I think it was a short clean out or of the emission control equipment. The other type of variance that they seek frequently is to work on the emission control equipment, which is kind of a separate issue from this one.
Okay, so normal. So this is kind of the normal time for them.
Yes, this based on the historical variances, this appears to be a normal time frame for this type of work that they're doing on the furnace. That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Robertson, did you have a question?
Yeah, I've got a couple. Continuing the thread that Dr. Goodwin started, the manpower issue. If you ran into that, would you have to stop firing with these auxiliary burners then until you got your staffing back up?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not, this 10-day period isn't continuous. It's like you said, it's a contingency in case you run into manpower issues.
Exactly.
Okay, what do you estimate the burn time, the actual burn time on these auxiliary burners to be?
Estimated 5 days.
5 days continuous.
Yes.
Okay. And for your emissions control systems under normal ops, what do you have?
We have an ESP for PM. We have a SCR for NOx. We have a sorbent injection, also with ammonia injection for NOx control. and oh gosh, I mean sorbent injection for SOx. So SCR, ESP for PM, SCR for NOx, and sorbent injection for SOx control.
Okay. I would imagine that your SOx emissions would be already pretty low. You're firing on pipeline quality natural gas, right?
Yeah, we're at our most peak control when it comes to SOx emissions. Yes.
Okay, because I noticed it was, what is it, 2,000 pounds? It was an estimate of excess emissions, which seems a little high. Do you expect to even come close to that?
Probably not. No. These are just in case, since we're adding additional burners, there there may be a chance of other excess emissions happening besides CEO, where we received the NOV last time in 2016. So we just wanted to, through our past discussions, we wanted to make sure that we're covered for those other emissions when you add additional burners.
Okay, and for the CO emissions, you didn't state that you have any after combustion controls. So do these auxiliary burners tend to put out more CO than your standard process?
No, they're burning natural gas too. CO emissions are minimal.
Okay. And the last question, how do you know when the refractory is clean? Is it based upon time or some other?
Burner efficiency. There's burner efficiencies. We measure trends in burner efficiency that indicate that it's been cleaned out and it's working better.
Okay. Okay.
Are there any other questions from the board?
Very good questions. Wow.
Yeah, this is I'm really impressed. I'm impressed by our board today. So good job, guys.
The record is very thorough this week. This is good.
I hope you guys are taking good notes.
I have another question.
Sure,
so much of our trash is glass. And are there any chances do you see any options to recycle glass rather than having it all go into the trash?
We don't trash our glass. It serves as an aggregate in our raw materials. So whatever gets crushed, not used, not sold, and as it forms a solid ribbon, it gets trimmed down into its final square. That those trimmings get all loaded into what we call a cullet pile, and then it gets reintroduced back into the furnace.
Okay, but I was talking about consumers when they use glass that they get to the store and so forth. Do you see any uses or ways to get that out of the trash and into some sort of recycling?
It all depends on personal behavior, Dr. Goodwin. If everyone had the mindset to really just segregate the glass from any other recycled product, we would have a better chance of achieving that goal. Now, as far as our plant goes, we're float glass. We deal with architectural glass, and our product gets put into buildings, so it serves a greater purpose, and especially with coated glass to help lower gas bill, gas electric bills and things like that. So, for our intents and purposes, we actually help in a lot of ways to reduce emissions from the secondary sources, things like that. So, but it's a fair question, but short answer is personal behavior.
Well, thank you very much for your answer.
All right. Anything else from the board here? This is a very engaged board today. We took a month off and everybody gathered up their questions.
I know. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
All right. If there's no other questions here, I'm seeing we still don't have any members of the public. Do we, Michelle?
That's correct.
Okay. So Jesse, I'm assuming I can proceed if we don't have any members present, public members, or do I still need to ask?
No, you can just go ahead and proceed. I have it on record that there are no members of the
If
public
there were
present.
members of the public, they could chime in now in a panic, and I don't hear any
Okay.
panic, so
Fair
I think
enough.
you can
Thank
proceed.
All right. So with that all being said, then I will entertain a motion granting the short variance here if anybody is so inclined.
Yeah, so I'll give it a shot. I move to approve Guardian Industries LLC's petition for a short variance set forth in docket number C-22-01S with the required 6 findings of the Health and Safety Code adopted by reference as set forth in the staff report. Variance shall be effective for a consecutive 10-day period to occur sometime between March 1st, 2022 and April 30th, 2022 inclusive, or until the regenerator burn-off work is completed, whichever occurs first, and shall be subject to the conditions on pages 4 to 6 of the staff report.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second,
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin. Then I'll ask Michelle to please call the vote, please. Call
Dr.
the roll, I
Goodwin,
should say.
yes.
Mr. Mulligan,
You're on mute, Jerry.
I think he slept. Oh, he's on
Just give a
mute.
thumbs up if you're yes.
Thumbs
give a
up.
thumbs up. Got it.
There you go.
Thank
Okay,
you.
good job.
Mr.
Oh, no,
Soldani,
Aye.
thank you. Mr. Robertson
Aye.
and Mr. Hartwig.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. All right. Thank you. And thank you so much, Mr. Roach, for answering our questions.
No problem. It's always a pleasure.
Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, we'll move on to item number 5 here, which is public comment. But I still see that there are no members of the public present. So with that, we'll move on to item number 6, which is hearing board member comments. Is there any member of the board that wishes to make any comments here?
Yeah,
Go
I
ahead.
just wanted to mention, every time I try to get in on this meeting, there's something that happens that's new. Like this time it asked me for the code. Well, of course, I didn't know the code. And then, of course, I had to go back and get that. And the last time, I just had trouble joining. So I'm sorry that I'm coming in a little late, but I always get a surprise when I try to join this meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Goodwin, through the chair. Zoom is, we find the same thing, so I apologize in advance for the technology, but I'm glad you're able to join.
Yeah, I normally try to come in a little early, but then I always find a little block, a little surprise block that causes confusion.
I think they like to keep you on your toes, Dr. Goodwin.
Yes.
Yeah, it really does. Of course, my computer's not up to it, but
Any other comments here? Jerry, go ahead.
Any news on when we'll be going back in person?
The governing board takes that matter up every month as part of its agenda, and I have not heard any change yet, but as soon as there is, you will be informed.
Thanks, Jesse.
I mean, it's probably imminent with the changes to the mask mandates, but it's as soon as we know, we'll let you know.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jesse. And Jerry, thanks for asking the question because I had the same one. So any other questions here or comments? Yeah, Andy. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
just a little request. I noticed on the Air District website, it still shows vacant for the engineer position.
Yes, Angie,
So-
I'm glad you brought that up, Andy. I'll take that question. So actually at our board meeting tomorrow, the board members will reappoint the attorney engineer members and actually appoint you to the primary position. So
Excellent.
it's on the agenda on the consent calendar if you want to take a look on our website, look at the item. No need to attend. It's a consent calendar item, but
Okay.
I'll make that update after the board meeting tomorrow.
Thank you. Man, we were engaged today. I gotta give us credit as a board. Let me just pat ourselves on the back here as being engaged here. So anything else? Thanks, Shannon. Thanks for the standing ovation there.
Yeah.
So anything else, any other comments? Mr. Soldani, you haven't had a chance to make any comments yet. If you're interested, maybe
Oh, I've had plenty of chances. I don't have any comments.
fair enough. I just don't want to leave you excluded there. So all right, we'll move on then to item number 7, new business, of which there doesn't appear to be any.
I have
So-
some new business, actually, if I can have the
gosh,
floor for
okay.
just a
Yeah,
moment.
please, Jerry. Go ahead. Or Jesse.
This is my last hearing board meeting. I am moving back to plan and rule development. And so there will be a new assistant counsel, hopefully within the coming months. In the meantime, my old boss, Annette Ballatori, will be filling in on these meetings. And you might still see me on occasion in the future if there's ever a situation where Annette or her new assistant counsel can't attend the meeting. But I did want to come by and say goodbye and just let you know I'm
Aw.
still at the Air District. So some of you might see me around in other contexts. It's been a real pleasure working with you. I can't believe it's been 8 years that I've been counsel to the hearing boards. It's been a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed working with all of you and all of the compliance staff. So thank you and goodbye.
Thanks, Jesse. You've been
Yes,
awesome.
thank you for all your good work
Thank
on
you.
behalf of the inner board and all the help that you provide the hearing board. It's much appreciated.
Thank you so much. And rest assured that when there is a new assistant counsel, I will be working with that individually very closely to bring them up to speed, and always here to back staff up if there's ever any questions.
I
Appreciate
want to
that.
thank you for your support for all those years.
Thank you.
Jesse's amazing. We'll miss working with her on the hearing boards. I was hoping she'd keep that
I
responsibility.
wanted to,
know
but
she's
I'm
her
told
others-
that's not a normal thing for a plan and rule development person to do. So
Darn.
Fair.
All right.
That's fair. No, we seriously, we do, Jesse. We love working with you, and like I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing Annette again. I guess briefly, she jumped in here last I think last year
Yeah,
for a
last
meeting or
week.
two, if I remember
Yeah.
right. So,
Mhm.
but
It happens.
but like I said, we really appreciate everything you've done for us, Jesse, and the guidance you've provided all of us. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
The round of applause, real quick. Round of applause.
Oh,
round of
wow.
applause. So,
No, I'm
there you
extra
go.
glad I came. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and Dr. Goodwin went like this with her hands. It looked like, I think so. That's good. So
Oh,
that's fine.
I also want to say, have you sent us out the Form 700s?
I did. I sent that email earlier this week, I believe, but I can re-forward it to you if you didn't receive it.
Okay, it has the form attached?
Yes, the form is attached. There's both an Excel
Okay.
and a regular PDF.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, thank you.
I don't know if anybody else had any trouble getting theirs. Mine came through yesterday, Michelle. So thank you for
Yeah.
that. So,
Okay.
Thanks for the Excel format.
yeah.
Absolutely glad to help.
Can we scan it and send it back to you, Michelle? Or do you
Yeah.
want to copy?
Yeah, that's fine. With COVID, we're fine with not having the original signatures.
Thanks.
Makes sense. All right. Anything else? This is a long one for us, guys. But you know, I guess couldn't have it any other way. So perfect. If there's nothing else, then I will move to adjournment here, and appreciate everybody's time. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all. We'll see you next
Bye.
time.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
And